Okay, so Katrina Sires is going to tell us a little bit about the assignment and then turn it over to her awesome students.
So for this research assignment, I had students develop their own question and go out and kind of see what research they could find just using the internet. They're later then going to go and take this research and use it as kind of a jumping off point for their final papers. And so they're going to go and kind of see what do academic sources have to say about this subject. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what questions they came up with. The theme of the course is the human and the non-human. So they're looking both at animals, technology, and monster narratives and seeing kind of what topics are explored when we look at these questions.
So I have Jordan Steepy's paper on how dogs and humans are more connected than it seems. So most people already know that humans and their pets have quite a personal connection with each other, but what they don't know is how strong that connection can be. Humans are drawn to animals that are responsive to them, which is why when looking at pets, many people point to dogs. There are many similarities and connections between humans and dogs, like how we learn from a young age and how we use and live with dogs in our everyday lives. The connection that humans have with dogs and other pets is amazing, and it shows that we now have co-evolved. The connection we have with dogs is so strong because humans look for similar qualities in pets. We tend to look for an emotional connection and a pet that is responsive to our actions. This is because it can feel like we are communicating with things closer to us and make us think like we are being heard. According to Professor Thomas Studendorf at the University of Queensland, they can think about hidden movements, learn to interpret human symbols, solve some problems through their mental rather than physical computations. This shows the communication between animals and humans because animals like dogs, cats, and monkeys have brains similar to ours in ways that they can understand what we want them to do, and they have the ability to learn like we do. These common signs could be telling a dog to sit or shake, and they can pick up this sign over time. Similarly to humans, we are taught at a young age how to read and write, and it's just because something we do whenever we are given a pen and paper. Because dogs have been a household pet for such a long time, it is easier for humans to train them and get them to understand what we are telling them to do. The fact that dogs are so easy to teach and that they can understand what we want them to do is what makes the connection between them and people. They understand what we want them to do without us having to do barely anything. Another thing that connects dogs with animals is how we use them. For many blind and disabled people, they need ways to get around or to be comforted, and this support can come from dogs. New Scientist writer Pat Shipman says that having a dog as a support animal makes a huge connection with them and humans because they provide a friendly companion and health benefits. In fact, pets are increasingly seen as offering us tangible benefits as therapy animals, assistants to people who are blind or disabled, and companions to those who are socially isolated. The animal is trained to be prepared to help their human in any crisis, whether that being a panic attack, the owner fell, or there was an accident. This shows the similar connection because humans and dogs, because the dog is in this situation is like any other human watching or caring for the human, but a dog that just makes it more normalized. Humans also use dogs on a farm as a herder. This shows a connection because the dog is trained to get all of the other farm animals in one place quickly. Farm dogs know what their job is and what they are supposed to do, which, according to New York Times writer Natalie Angier, is what makes them reliable. Most of the time, the dog is a member of the family and they sleep inside with the owners. So there will be some kind of emotional connection shared with the owner. Having a long-term pet can create a big connection between animals and humans since the pet is always around and relies on the human. The two can create a big emotional bond and get close to each other like in ways a mother would create a bond with their child. According to Cedar L. Shoka, science writer and PhD student, oxytocin is a social reward hormone. It's important to regulate the bond between the mother and her infant, family members, or monogamous partners. This shows how we have a connection with dogs because they have the same reward that humans do. They need the goodness and motivation to be connected with someone or something. For most pet owners, when their pet is sick or it dies, they get really sad because they did share a connection and now they've lost someone they're close to. This is the same for pets. When they lose someone or something, they aren't around anymore, they can get sad too. Also, when you have a strong connection with a pet you've had for a long time, they can start to become overprotective of you and attack others that could be hurting you. There is a clear connection between dogs and humans because of the support that they provide for us, whether that be as a helper or as an emotional support dog. Because there is such a strong connection, we can see that dogs aren't that different than humans and that we actually rely on them a lot in life. We can see that there are many situations or similarities that allows us to coexist with dogs, like having them as a guard or therapy dog, having them as a long-term house pet or farm dog, what kind of hormones they have and how their brain works, and how easy they can learn and adapt. Some people may say dogs are as stupid or unhelpful, but what they don't realize is how smart they are and how much they can help people that need support in any way.
I'm reading a paper by Jessica Brown entitled Non-Human Animals and Humans. Non-human animals are typically seen as lesser beings. Many humans believe this to be true because so many non-human animals may not hold the same qualities we do. However, this is not the case. A lot of times these animals are quite similar to humans. They have intelligence, shared DNA, and feelings just like humans. With these qualities, you would think they would be treated humanely, though a lot of the time they are not. Humans need to respect and show compassion for other living creatures on Earth, human or not. Firstly, some non-human animals and humans are both smart and understand complex matters. According to biologist Carla Muller, animals are quite intelligent. In her article, How Are Humans Different from Other Animals?, Muller writes about the Caledonian crow's ability to solve difficult puzzles and even build tools. Birds are not particularly seen as smart, but these crows are able to do basic tasks humans can do. Other animals Muller writes about are prairie dogs from Gunnison, Colorado. These prairie dogs have an intricate language. Like humans, these prairie dogs have a way of communicating. They can sound detailed alarm calls that describe the predator's traits, such as smell, speed, and size, to warn one another. This is such a clever trait for a non-human animal to have. Both these animals show that non-human creatures have intelligence and can do tasks. They are thinking, working, and developing creatures just like humans. Secondly, some non-human animals and humans share similar DNA. It is common knowledge that humans are closely related to chimpanzees, but we also share DNA with a lot of other animals. According to the news site, The Independent, humans share 90% of our DNA with domestic cats, 85 with mice, and 60 with chickens. This shows that some non-human animals are more like humans than we would think. These non-human animals are like humans, so they should be treated with the same respect as we would with humans. Although non-humans and humans are not exactly alike, they have very many similar factors. Lastly, most non-human animals and humans feel emotions. A basic example of this would be your everyday house pet. Dogs get super excited to see their owners and can develop separation anxiety from being alone or feeling lonely. Cats and rabbits also have an emotional response by showing their happiness by purring. More exotic animals, on the other hand, also show feelings. According to National Geographic, humpback whales have been known to show empathy. A story published in National Geographic explains about a group of humpback whales that saved several seals from being hunted by predators. One whale even took a seal out of the water onto its back to save it. This demonstrates the human-like qualities non-human animals have. They are different from us, but have the same empathy and compassion we do. Muller later writes in her article, animals that grieve include elephants, wolves, sea lions, magpies, and many more. A recent video of javelinas show that they mourn their dead, but we wouldn't have realized this until it was captured by a field camera. Non-human animals can be happy, empathetic, and sad. They have a wide range of emotions just like humans, so they should be treated with compassion like we would with humans. Non-human animals deserve to be treated humanely because humans are very similar to non-human animals. Non-human animals are smart, share DNA with humans, and have feelings. These qualities show their resemblance to humans and their capabilities as animals. With these qualities, it would be unethical to treat non-humans inhumanely. With non-human animals being so alike to humans, change is necessary. We can only hope to have laws change in the future to help non-human animals get the humane care that they deserve.
Let's turn it over to McGill, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'll be reading Dogs Can Help Us Live Better by Zachary Manley. Beyond having a cute, cuddly, loyal buddy to pal around with, owning and caring for a dog can have tremendous physical and mental health benefits. More often than not, a dog will love you unconditionally, and this factor alone is an indicator for a potential bonding experience that's unique but similar to bonding with fellow humans. Research shows that caring for a dog can have tremendous physical health benefits. Dogs require regular walks, which means the owner will have to get up and get moving to achieve this. This kind of physical activity can improve one's cardiovascular health and even aid in reducing cholesterol and high blood pressure. Beyond these physical health benefits, taking a walk with a dog can help clear your mind and focus on the moment. Dogs can also help lead us to nature. Walking a dog allows you to be outside, focus on your surroundings, and take a breath of fresh air. Furthermore, because walking your dog requires you to get up and get outside, you just might meet a fellow dog walker and make new friends too. Therefore, owning a dog promotes socialization. Dog lovers tend to get along with other dog lovers, and admiring another person's cute dog while on a walk can be an excellent icebreaker in the beginning of a new friendship. These social interactions can help one to feel more of a sense of community. Dogs can also have a profound impact on our mental health. Caring for a dog gives us a sense of responsibility, therefore giving us a sense of purpose and creating meaning in our lives. Dogs must be fed, walked, played with, and cared for. These responsibilities should inspire one to get up and get the job done. In an article titled "How Dogs Drive Emotional Well-Being in Psychology Today," the author cites an excerpt from the book Being Mortal by Atul Gawande and states that the author uncovers through research and experience that people are at their happiest when they feel their lives have purpose. Having a purpose motivates us to live. Dogs can help to alleviate the suffering that comes from anxiety, depression, loneliness, and even psychological trauma. On depression, the aforementioned Psychology Today article cites a quote from Gary Christensen, Chief Medical Officer at Boynton Health Service at the University of Minnesota. that says, animals give us something to focus on instead of the negative thoughts a depressed person is prone to have. When a pet pays attention to you, they're giving you unconditional love and acceptance. Furthermore, dogs can provide empathy. Dogs can sense when we're not feeling well and can offer their companionship for comfort. And speaking companionship, or lack thereof, we're currently experiencing a loneliness epidemic in America. For those suffering from loneliness, owning a dog can provide company, responsibility, purpose, and companionship. Like I stated above, dogs require regular walks, and for those who are suffering from loneliness, this presents opportunities to get out and meet new people during the walk, increasing one's likeliness to make new friends and feel a sense of community, thus alleviating loneliness. So for those who suffer from psychological trauma, for a dog can have tremendous benefits in these cases. Service dogs might be an excellent option. Service dogs are working dogs that have been specially trained to perform tasks that assist folks with disabilities. Canines for Warriors, an organization devoted to getting service dogs into homes of disabled veterans, features testimonials by veterans who have benefited greatly from owning a service dog. For example, Benjamin Stepp is an Iraq war veteran who received a dog from Canines for Warriors, and he shared a bit of his story. When he experiences pain and mental anguish, Arlie, his service dog, will attempt to get his attention by putting her paw on his foot. If Benjamin doesn't respond, Arlie will put her head on his lap, and if that doesn't work, she will stand up and place her paws on his shoulders and attempt to get him to focus his attention on her. How remarkable. This type of phenomenon is referred to as emotional contagion, which is the spread of feelings between animals and people. While I can't say enough about how amazing it is to own a dog, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that owning a dog isn't always easy, and it's definitely not for everyone. Owning a dog is a commitment. You are, in fact, caring for a living creature that requires your time, care, and attention. All dogs require a level of engagement and training. This includes potty training. Dogs will make all kinds of messes in your home. They will get fur on your clothes and furniture. They might destroy some of your possessions. They might challenge your patience, and all of this needs to be considered. You cannot slack and just give up when things aren't going your way with the dog. You just can't chain it up outside or leave it in the kennel all day or leave the messes they make unattended, etc. If one is truly interested in owning and caring for a dog, they should do as much research as they can and seek advice of other responsible dog owners. Plenty of helpful resources exist online too. So now you know that owning a dog is wonderfully rewarding responsibility and can greatly improve the quality of one's physical and mental health. Caring for a dog gives us a purpose in life, while dogs provide unconditional love, loyal companionship, and good company. They can challenge us to be better and teach us to be mindful. We truly don't deserve them. If you're interested in caring for a dog, do your research and find the right dog that can fit your life. Your health will thank you, and so will your new furry friend.
Let me pull it up. I will be reading my own paper on why humans and apes are different. Why are apes and humans different? When we think of apes, we usually visualize an abnormally large animal with black fur living in the jungle and walking on their knuckles. If I were to ask what divides apes and humans, many would settle on their superficial differences. For instance, apes are hairier than humans, possess longer arms, and have a larger jaw and teeth. Although the appearance of apes and humans are contrasting, the more crucial differences between the two are non-superficial, including their biological and cognitive characteristics because of disease variation, the process of birth and menopause, and the capability to teach one another. One element that separates apes and humans is disease variation. One example of this is heart disease. In the 2018 article, How Are Humans and Chimps Different?, Ajit Varki points out that although the leading killer for both humans and chimps is heart disease. What separates them is the pathology. Humans obtain heart disease when arteries surrounding the heart become blocked. Varki illustrates that apes suffer from heart disease when their heart muscle turns to scar tissue. Varki also notes that no captive great apes have reported carcinomas of the esophagus, lung, stomach, pancreas, colon, uterus, ovaries, or prostate, unlike humans who have. Due to the heart being crucial in surviving both human and ape lives and cancer being a popular killer among humans, the method for contracting heart disease and different carcinomas are an essential distinction between the two. Furthermore, apes and humans have distinctive processes for both birth and menopause. The human birth method often takes place in a hospital and is challenging, painful, and strenuous. In his 2012 article, Humans, Dennis O'Neill contrasts between human and ape birth. O'Neill suggests that due to humans being primarily bipedal walkers, their pelvis is shorter and more bowl-shaped than an ape. Subsequently, the birth canal is narrower. For this reason, apes have a less severe birthing mechanism and do not need medical assistance, states O'Neill. Humans tend to go through menopause many years before death. In contrast, female apes are capable of conception until old age, highlights O'Neill. These factors are critical because they help us understand why population and life expectancy of humans and apes stand apart. Equally important is the premise that while apes learn based on the idea of mimicking or copying each other, humans have the ability to teach each other in a more complex way. In the article, The Gap Between Humans and Apes, John Rubin highlights why humans are more qualified to teach than apes. One skill that allows humans to teach is mind reading, claims Rubin. Mind reading is important to teaching because it allows the reader to recognize what the learner is or is not understanding. Recognizing what someone is or is not comprehending is a form of mind reading. Apes are not believed to have this talent of thought transference. In addition, Rubin introduces the concept of the triangle. This theory includes 3 points: the learner, the teacher, and the object. Not only do the learner and the teacher pay attention to each other, but they also pay attention to the object at the same time. During a functional magnetic resonance imaging on the brains of humans using the triangle performed by Andrew Whitten, a small area behind the forehead was active. Furthermore is an emotional talent humans have called impulse control, Rubin points out. Being able to control our reactions and emotions makes us better teachers and learners. The frontal lobe of the human brain is responsible for impulse control, and although humans and apes have roughly the same size frontal lobe, humans have a higher number of neural connections on this region of the brain than apes. Katrina Sires points out. The difference in which humans and apes teach and learn is important because it potentially shows why humans are considered smarter than other primates. In conclusion, although it is true that humans and apes have superficial differences, more internal features are essentially what separates apes and humans because of varying diseases, the process of birth and menopause, and the capability to teach. This matters because we may be able to use this information in determining why ape and human lifespans and populations differ. And that's it.
Cool, thank you so much. Is that everyone? And shall we move into some discussion? Katrina, feel free to take it from here.
So I'm curious, I think, well, first let's open it up if anyone has any questions or any comments.
I would like to say thank you for everybody for reading. It was very intriguing to listen to all that. I took a couple things from each reading that I thought was particularly interesting, so thank you all.
I did the same as well. I do have one question. Can I ask a specific person what it is? All right, so my question, I just didn't really understand. So Morgan, my question is, so if something is considered like they can't mind read, does that mean they can't like understand, maybe not emotional intelligence, can they understand somebody else's like emotions, or is this specifically just like teaching something like, oh, this person doesn't understand this
So primates can do a lot. They are very similar to humans, but I didn't highlight really on the emotional part of that in this paper. But let me go back and look. So in the article that I read, it was basically about the capability to teach one another. And I think we've all seen like videos or something where the like apes or the chimps just like mimic one another, and humans, we do that sometimes, but we don't do that often. And one of the reasons that this article said was because of their ability to mind read. And then in the article, there was also they did another MRI. I just didn't include this, but they did another MRI like they did with my example for impulse control. And there was a part of the brain that was active during this that humans have. But then again, they also have not done many MRIs on primates because it's a lot more difficult to get them to sit in a tube for like minutes on end, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Is it all right if I go ahead and ask or state something about that fourth reading as well?
Yeah, please do.
I was curious when it was first starting, it was talking about the heart diseases. Did that directly say that our heart diseases were more caused because of congestion? Is that what you're saying? I missed it a little bit.
Let me go back, sorry. So I read this, it was actually a really big article that a bunch of people came together and did like a lecture on. And so I just took part of it, and they did a bunch of research, and basically when humans get heart disease, it's basically from clogged arteries, such as like plaque. And then, but the difference is when apes get heart disease, it's more of their heart muscle turning into scar tissue rather than their arteries becoming blocked.
And that's what I was particularly trying to lean towards with my thought here is we are eating all these foods that we throw all sorts of chemicals into, and then we're living in these houses that get more congested. Is it the fact that the apes are eating more foods and they're living amongst the trees, so the air they're constantly breathing is always being filtered as well?
That's a very good point that I would do some like research in. But apes also eat mostly like plants. So they get a lot of the nutrients from plants also. And in America, we love to eat fast food and like food that comes off of the shelf that has a bunch of salt and preservatives in it. And I actually just watched an interesting video for my health class in which we learned all about the mass production of food and what these farmers are putting into our meat in order to make them fatter quicker, and what they put into our plants to not have like microbes grow in it, but those all have harmful causes to Americans. And a lot of Americans aren't educated on this, so a lot of us don't know like we shouldn't eat that.
I have a question about the scar tissue that happens with primates. In knowing that it's not just what we eat that causes heart disease, but it's also the conditions that we live in, how there are different demographics of people depending on what those conditions are cause heart disease. Is there something within like high stress situations that primates are living in that causes that that scarring? What brings on the scarring?
The article didn't mention what brings on the scarring, but actually going back to what Brian said, I wonder if we lived like apes and ate lots of vegetables and lived among the trees, if we would develop the scar tissue and not like the clogged arteries. I mean, those like you said, those happen for more reasons than food, but I wonder if like our environmental habitats is what contributes to that. But it didn't necessarily say like why that was.
So there's some interesting comments I'm hearing here. I hope you don't mind me stepping in a little bit. It seems like one question that I'd like to ask, maybe it's kind of a final question, kind of getting towards time. Is that right, Nicole? Kind kind of ask a larger question because it sounds like there was some really interesting stuff in some of these articles that we were reading that we decided not to include in our papers. And so kind of as a general question, I'm curious, because all of you have researched, even if you weren't researching your own paper, how did you kind of hone in on what you wanted to write on? Like, what did that even look like? What was that process like? I'm a little bit curious.
For me personally, on my paper that was not in any of this reading, I didn't have my reading today, but when I was going through trying to decide what I want to do my paper on, I found that with this sort of quarantine, stay home, stay safe kind of situation, I found more watching the TV going on. And through that, I started watching more things about monsters and vampires. So that really played a part into what was actively focused on within my mind while I was choosing. I'm curious if others may have been watching more or paying attention to more environmental things. Did that play a part in it, or just their love that's around them?
I had the same exact topic and I wrote about that. I thought out of all of the topics I had, I actually took a different approach. I said, I don't know much about this topic, so I kind of want to go in depth into this topic. But I thought it was a big challenge to actually write about it because I didn't know much about monsters. And so I kind of dug like a grave there, but I still pulled through. And I noticed it took a lot of critical thinking compared to if I took the option as there was like 3 options. One was it was kind of like non-human qualities or human qualities and non-humans, or the comparison between the two. And then the other option, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Technology, I think.
Technology, which I feel like is more studied now than monsters in general, because I thought it was very difficult to find, not very difficult, but difficult to find articles related to my statement in general.
That sounds kind of familiar to mine as well. I didn't find technology to sound like it would be as entertaining. And then in general, I've always paid a lot of attention to animals. And then I just finished 2 biology classes in a row about animals. So I kind of took a little spin off from animals.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Susan Allsweet, and I know Nicole through Arbutus Folk School, and I've been listening to the Zoom meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays that she has put together, like this one through SPSCC. And I'm interested in all of your papers that you wrote, but Samantha, you said something about birds or crows, and I've always had a fascination about crows and how intelligent they are. And there is a book, and I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
Okay, and some of you may know him. His name is John Marslove. He is a professor of sustainable resource science at UW, and for over 25 years, he has been doing research on crows and how incredibly intelligent they are. And his new project at the Tacoma campus is about how crows mourn their dead. He's also done a project which I've seen online and on regular television as well, about a project they did wearing a mask, and they would aggravate crows on the UW campus in Seattle, and then and they were trying to discover how many generations back did the crows know that information about who a bad person was, who had treated them poorly. And they've discovered it was 3 or 4 generations back that the crows passed that information on to their young. And I guess one of the reasons that I am interested particularly in crows too is I was an elementary school librarian for 35 years, and so I love stories, and the Native American stories in the Northwest often include something about crows and how they have basically co-evolved. So Crows and Ravens, In the Company of Crows and Ravens is John Marslove's book, and if you Google his name, you'll find all kinds of kind of crazy experiments. Well, not experiments because the animals are in the wild, but interesting things they have observed crows doing. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll, that wasn't my paper, but I will pass that information along to Jessica. She might be interested in adding that to her next paper.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I like crows too.
Quick thing on the crows topic there. I'm curious if it's when they recognize 3 or 4 generations back of who has done any negative towards them or bad towards them, do they recognize more that they see bad or negative activity from a area? So maybe it's been built up that area is bad, or is it like specific people, they recognize people or something?
I think they recognize a specific person, and one of the things they did in this experiment, which was done quite a long time ago, is to wear a mask. And so different people would wear the mask, and when the crows saw that mask, they just went sort of bonkers because they recognized it as that's somebody doing something negative.
Okay, that's kind of what goes along with one of my questions I kept finding in the first 3 readings here, is it seemed I kept hearing the response of apes aren't as smart as humans, or dogs aren't as smart as humans, or such and such isn't as smart as humans, and yet we're always finding something new that these animals are able to do that we generally didn't even know about, such as dolphins have an extra part of the brain that we don't have, which means we can't even imagine what they use that part of the brain for. We literally cannot create that thought.
It just sounds like, I mean, it's the same way like within different cultures, there are different types of thought that is lost when there isn't parts of language that can convey those thoughts. And it seems similar with animals, where it's not, humans are always trying to like, it's like the idea of like, all of the planets revolve around Earth because that's where humans are and not the sun. And it's like the same comparison of like animals are not this or they are this in comparison to us, and that's why they should be acknowledged or treated a particular way. Like we are the center point of standard. And if there's going to be any sort of like acknowledgement of animal intelligence or what that entails, like, or any sort of different treatment of them, we have to stop centering ourselves in that discussion.
Yeah.
I wanted to add something to, I think it was the first one on how dogs are like humans and about the support and responsiveness. And I think it could even be added to the 3rd one on dogs, but I didn't hear them mention anything about like police dogs and canines and stuff like that. And I think that could be really useful, or the fact that our military uses them also.
That's a same side note I had added as well. The use for dogs towards finding bombs, drugs, other things that we otherwise want to be able to get off the streets. I think it kind of touched on how like they can be used to identify their owners of health issues or health alerts of like diabetes and such. I
Oh,
mean,
that's true. Like if their blood sugar is low, then, or like if they're having a seizure, the dog can go and get help. I've heard of that.
Mhm.
I recently read an article, I don't know enough about it to like go very far into it, but there are dogs that they're seeing if they can train dogs to be able to smell and detect COVID-19
Yeah.
as a form of diagnosis, which I thought was interesting. They also talked about whether, like, if there is a possibility of being able to smell the difference between somebody who currently has it or somebody who has had it. Yeah, something I'll check back on. It seemed.
Have dogs been able to do that with any other diseases? Do you know?
I don't know this for certain. I want to say the same news story. It was like, I think it was a radio story, mentioned cancer and MS, but again, I might be wrong, so I would double check that.
I just quickly looked it up and it says they can. They can detect colon cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer.
Huh.
I don't know specifically how, but that was just a quick search.
I'm wondering if it's like a big smell of a certain part of the body, and it contains so much. They're trained to smell carcinogens.
Yeah, it may not be the cancer itself, but like a bodily response to
Like
having it.
like there's such a buildup of it that it actually creates a smell that in that specific area that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I want to know more.
Yeah.
So they can pick up Parkinsons. I smell Parkinsons.
Something that,
Oh,
can I
sorry.
say something?
Yes, please do.
Something that comes to mind when I was listening to all of these is, well, it's so interesting, right? There's so many things that we don't know about animals, both the ways that they're similar to us and the ways that they're different. But I think it's like kind of important to be careful to not like draw too many quick correlations, because it's like used to be really in undergrad. I took a lot of biology classes and zoology, and I was really interested in like primates and how similar they are, but like just within like, I don't remember whatever genus or something, but there's like the bonobos that are like so sweet and they just want to like play around and like be like what's the word, like be racy, and like they sort of reflect this one part of humanity. But then there's like chimpanzees that are super like territorial and will like war with each other. So it's just that, and that's just one example. But it's just interesting to think about how much there is that we don't know, that like we can easily make correlations, but then it can also easily fall apart.
When you bring up that correlation topic and how it kind of results through all the readings and discussions through today and everything, really reminds me of a more recent reading I had been doing. This one attaches to the monsters topic of Dracula being a metaphor of like human evil. Sorry, I don't remember the exact title, but it was actually making interesting correlations like that, as well as the counterparts. For every one typically considered normal person, you can also end up finding there's somebody such as Hitler who believes he's the perfect example of a person and need to eradicate someone else.
So there are a lot of questions that kind of come up as we're looking at the different subjects together that kind of overlap, and a lot of statements that are made that are huge claims, right, that we need to kind of further explore as we're looking into these topics more. I think it's a good point to keep in mind that we often do read ourselves into animals, right? We anthropomorphize them. I'm curious if any of you have had experiences with animals where you suddenly realized you were kind of layering something on the animal that maybe wasn't actually there. So I have a dog. He's laying right here with me. And I always talk about how he's an 18th century gentleman. He has his little pantaloons, right? And he can be kind of polite, but I realized as time goes on, I'm definitely layering some of the emotions on him as I, interpret what he's doing. And I used to think licking meant that he loved me, and I later found out that it actually meant he was really anxious because I would hug him, and dogs don't actually like to be hugged. I'm curious, have any of you had experiences with animals where you felt like you were attaching a narrative to them that wasn't actually there?
I actually have like a whole elaborate situation. Like I let my cat, I have two cats. One is not interested in going outdoors, but I let the other one go out. And if I go outside and he's not around the yard and I do the like, he will like 9 times out of 10 come from wherever he is. And I have decided that we have an agreement, we respect each other's autonomy, but he like knows that I want to know he's alive, so he'll like come and like check in. But like the agreement is like I respect his autonomy and he respects my need to know he's not dead. So I suspect that I may be laying that on him, but maybe it's true.
A funny thing about that is I have a cat who doesn't come into my room, but in the mornings when I go to get up, if I don't get up as soon as usual, the cat will sit there and wave its arm underneath my door like it's trying to make sure I'm okay. That's what made me believe it, or think of what you just said.
Or the food source is okay.
Oh, he's good and happy with that stuff. I'm curious. I don't know if it's maybe the narrative or the same topic you're meaning there, Professor. But when I was younger, we always grew up having a lot of Rottweilers, and we had neighbors same age as me and my older brother, and they'd come over as kids. We'd play tag out in the yard. Well, one afternoon we were playing tag, and I was yelling, running away from my friend who was over playing, and well, Jagan, which is the Rottweiler, went after Mitchell, who was chasing me, and gave him a little nip. Not a bite, like a full-on bite, like he didn't puncture nothing, but it was like an alert, like a notification, like, hey, quit going after my human. My friend got so scared, booked it out of the yard. But I'm wondering if maybe that's kind of the topic you're meaning.
To some extent, I guess what I was wondering is, do we know that that's why he was doing that, and how do we know what his intention was, right? Mm-hmm. But we definitely see those kind of interactions, right, between humans and animals.
Yeah.
I used to have a dog and she would bark every time somebody came to the door. But I guess when you say that, I wonder, was she really protecting me or was she just defending herself?
It's back to what Nicole had said about kind of projecting different qualities. It seems like there's almost like a different species that kind of covers whatever like distilled human characteristic that we want them to have, or like different like even just within dogs, like there are certain breeds of dogs that are supposed to project like a certain type of personality that we want to be associated with us, or like, you know, like a toy poodle that you can carry around in your purse versus like a pit bull. Like those have different like social connotations attached to humans, but also like so much is projected of like what those animals are supposed to mean and symbolize. So
or
I
even
don't
like what gender the animals are.
Yeah, like I noticed that people say he a lot for dogs more often than they do for cats, or just like they're different because of those attributes. There are certain genders applied to those animals.
We have just a couple more minutes till 12. So we want to move into that wrapping up portion.
I appreciate the conversation and interactions with everybody. It's good to talk to someone outside the normal circle. Everyone did great with their readings. I appreciate all that. Thank you. And I've got some more questions to be able to think about and go over, as well as try to use it towards my own assignments, different perspectives to view it as.
Yeah, this is definitely an element of that's missing right now. Like this feels like being in class, and I'm very happy to have been able to create something to like connect with that, getting to see people that are in my class for the first time. And yeah, so that's been really great.
Yes, well, and we've had meetings this quarter, but they've been optional. So if you're missing this piece of class, know that there are going to be some hybrid courses in the fall that will have this piece in them. Does that make sense? So this kind of discussion can happen more in the fall if you're signing up for hybrid.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you all. I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I was more chatty than usual. But it was really good food for thought.
Yep.
So we will see your class back next Tuesday and the following Tuesday.
Sounds great. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you all so much.
And thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.